But we're going to keep it going as part of our weekly show. David, I know you said you had a bunch of meetings, so feel free to drop off, but I wanted to thank you again for coming.
Yeah, thank you all for having me. I will jump, but if you need any help or anything, reach out to myself or my team and we'll do what we can. So thank you guys again.
Thank you, David.
Bye.
All right, so don't say you didn't know you needed to pay taxes on NFT purchases, because now you know. Or like Dow says, he lost his crypto in a boating accident. But
I did. It was a horrible accident. And when you say NFT, that includes ordinals as of now. So BTC guys, you're included in that conversation now.
You can't even take that as a loss, Dow. Don't tell people you lost it in a boating accident. Tell them you accidentally sold it or something and take it as a loss, bro.
But yeah, obviously a lot of things going on this week. Great discussion about taxes, but I guess we should start with the elephant in the room, which is Coinbase.
I thought it was
I know Daniel's excited to talk about that. So for those of you who have not been around, crypto Twitter, Coinbase announced the launch of Base, which is an Ethereum layer 2 powered by Optimism. And like I said, it's Base minus the coin. That's why there's no token, right? But yeah, I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts about it.
Did anyone mint their free NFT?
I did not.
Sure did.
I did.
Sure did.
Hey, by the way, Jess or Tammy or anyone, why is it so that you guys don't have NFT PFPs since you guys like NFT so much?
Wait, what was the question?
Why is it so that no one of you guys have a NFT PFP since you guys like NFT so much?
I have an NFT PFP. What are you talking about?
Wait, you really think she walks around with colors in her background?
Oh,
yeah,
I haven't checked that.
That's my crypto chick.
All right. So who wants to chime in? I'll throw it over to Daniel. I know Daniel's been waiting to talk about this all week. He is a huge Coinbase advocate. So what do you think about this? I mean, you're Ethereum maxi, Coinbase maxi. What do you think about this?
I think it's amazing, but it's a big nerd news, There's really nothing exciting if you don't care about what they do in the background. It's just, it's another framework for people to come in and create their own dApps, obviously held by Coinbase, right? Because they're going to be kind of starting a centralized position and hopefully going towards the decentralized position, right? But they're going to be kind of like leading the way for that. But, I thought it was bigger news. It's big news if you're a nerd, but if you're not, it's a nothing, and the market didn't react as you saw it.
Wait, that's a big news for everybody. I don't think it's for nerds only. I think it's a massive news. Even if you don't get the technicals of roll-ups, Coinbase is developing their own roll-up, their own chain, basically, if you want to make it simple. So that means they're going to put a lot of developers to work with this Optimism technology to really create on-ramps. Like, there's 110 million users on Coinbase. Imagine if just 10% of them jump into the roll-up world and decentralized world. That's massive.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's more of you're into that. Like you said, roll-ups, you said onboarding. It's like no one cares about that until it happens. So it's a great news. I mean, I was pretty excited, but I don't think it's like nothing to write home about. Like it's not a game changer right now. So don't tell me what you're gonna do. Just show me what you're doing. Kind of the thing.
I like it better when you put alcohol in your coffee, man. Like bring back that Jack Daniels or whatever you put in your coffee back.
I am pretty sober right now.
Are we setting ourselves up for another disappointment? I mean, everything you guys said, we said about the Coinbase NFT marketplace. Oh my God, it's going to be a game changer. All the newbies are going to buy our fucking JPEGs.
I never said that.
No. Jess, I'll be honest with you. For once, I'm actually with Daniel here. Like, first of all, they integrated a dApp wallet in the exchange. So, like, that's what I was trying to tell Matt a couple of weeks ago. There's a dApp wallet in the exchange that people can use. It's actually not that bad. This is actually a pretty good idea.
There's a dApp wallet inside the exchange? You're talking about the Coinbase wallet?
No, if you open up the Coinbase exchange, there's a dApp wallet in there now. believe it or not. They did it in such a weird way where you can custody your NFTs in the exchange. I tried using it. It's a little weird for me. But yeah, they did it, Jess. And you know what? It might just spread adoption that way. There's a DApp wallet in the exchange, and I understand what they did. And I'm actually, the fact that they didn't put a coin in all this, let's see how this works. I actually like this idea. It's something completely different.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're not doing a coin because it's really powered on optimism, which already has a coin. So
no, it's powered on ETH.
Yeah, but the fees.
Let me put the FUD perspective, because I did see some FUD on the timeline. So the FUD is that there was obviously issues with the rolling out of the testnet. Okay, it was the launch of a testnet. But, you know, all the maxi FUDed Aptos, when it had issues with its rollout, I didn't hear anybody on the timeline complaining about how the base transactions were going through. Second thing is, we're coming back to this discussion. I don't know if you guys saw Hector on my timeline, that how much are L2s really going to solve this issue? So I'll throw it over to Dal.
Yeah, I think that's a great conversation. So I hope we can take like a long time to hear the back and forth. And Hector, please come on stage to hear your point of view on that. But in my opinion, right, the real thread of that conversation started around 2021, right, when plasma channels didn't work, right, for scaling solution for Ethereum. And then the conversation for rollups, right, the development started to happen. And in early 21, we really started to see some really cool dApps being deployed on Arbitrum and Optimism, right? And then throughout 2022, we saw like the growth, even though it was a bear market, of adoption. If you go on DeFi Llama and you look at the top chain in terms of TVL, total value lock, and volume, the top five, obviously Ethereum is number one. Then the weird one is Tron, but we all kind of know it's kind of wash trading. It doesn't really count. Then it's BSC, right? The top three are there. But then if you follow, you would probably assume it's Solana, Avalanche, Algorand. No, it's actually Arbitrum. Then it's Avalanche. Then it's Optimism. And then Solana is like number 12, right? And Arbitrum is actually growing both in terms of TVL and volume. And as of this week, there was one day, I think it was either yesterday or Wednesday, where there was more volume trading 24 hours on Arbitrum than on Ethereum. Now, obviously, this is one day, so, you know, but it kind of hint at a trend that people are indeed moving to layer twos. And I think that's the context of the conversation. And that's the context where Coinbase dev team made the decision to say, well, we also want to be building in this ecosystem, because they think, maybe they're wrong, but they think this is where the space is going towards, this modular architecture versus monolithic architecture, i.e. layer twos, roll-up, data availability, stuff like that. The interesting conversation is why they pick optimistic roll-ups versus ZK rollups, and within optimistic rollups, why they pick Optimism stack versus working with Arbitrum, who also have their own stack. So I think that there's a lot of questions that we can ask. And to your point, Jess, there's definitely a lot of Ethereum people, including myself, that are super happy and probably bypassing some of the concern that we should have. But just to think about how many people we can onboard, the on-ramps, and all the development that's going to happen and integration are going to happen, it's really exciting.
I'm just getting deja vu from the NFT marketplace by all this hopium. Maybe I'm just traumatized. But the other one more, I'll go to you, Matt, right now. Just one more piece that I saw is that originally it looked like their website said they were going to contribute 20% of the revenue to, who were they going to contribute it to public good. And they later went back and edited that out. And, you know, I guess my other concern too is like, you know, before when we talked about Brian Armstrong and Coinbase and how involved they were with the Ethereum ecosystem, yeah, they're all for decentralization. Were they really for that, or was this the master plan all the whole time to launch this side chain?
Okay, so let me address the NFT thing you keep talking about first. So the NFT marketplace, yeah, it was cool, but OpenSea already existed. OpenSea was already the big dog in the space. So
there's a bunch of other a bunch of other layer twos.
Hold on, let me finish. OpenSea NFT platform was already the big dog in the space. So for Coinbase to have their own marketplace, it was gonna have to compete against OpenSea. So I never had any big thoughts about Coinbase NFT. It was cool, but I never thought it was a serious competitor to the existing OpenSea NFT marketplace platform. As far as the what they decided to do is huge. Coinbase has a lot of money. I think a lot of people keep forgetting that Coinbase has a lot of money. So for developers to want to go and build on there, I think it's gonna increase adoption, because again, when people sign up to crypto and cryptocurrency, Coinbase is really like the most easy, like the most user friendly one to go on. And it's going to be the same thing with developers and everything. And them deciding to use ETH as a gas or a fee system instead of building their own token, that's even great, because that's going to push the adoption of Ethereum even more. So yeah, I'm bullish on it all. Brian, I'm bullish on Brian Armstrong. I'm bullish on Coinbase. And I think we're gonna give it time to see how it plays out.
Yeah, we need some. I got a bunch of ETH and Coinbase maxis up here. We need a little bit of diversity. Go ahead, Nico, and then Daniel, and I see Hector came up.
Yeah, so because you guys mentioned Hector before, and Hector is not wrong. Like, he has a point, but the thing is, though, like, it's for future purposes, because I already know what Hector's gonna say and what's gonna happen and where the conversation's going. So I'm preparing myself. I'm gonna shut up, let him talk, and then I'm gonna respond, because I know where this is going already.
That was a preemptive strike.
Yeah, I know what he's gonna say. Go ahead, Hector. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I think it was funny, first of all, to set out of the way that Coinbase is making a lot of money, or has a lot of money. Like, they're literally losing money. They reported 2 days ago, or a day ago, a $500 million loss to add to their $2.4 billion loss for the year for 2022. So to say that they're over here creating ZK rollups and whatnot and layer twos and bullshit, maybe Armstrong should worry about making money instead of losing money, instead of making stupid shit.
Maybe that's why they took out the 20% donation they were going to do.
Yeah, like, this business is dying, and they're worried about decentralization when they got the SEC down their throat trying to, become a viable business.
Wait, let it finish. You said you wanted to hear him, so let it finish.
So besides the fact that Coinbase is when a company is not making money and they're losing $2.4 billion in a single year, that to me is a dying business. You may think otherwise, but I don't think that's the case. And besides the fact, like, it's irrelevant to the point.
I'll post the earnings report. I'll post the earnings report. They literally just beat revenue. But go ahead.
No. They literally, they beat revenue expectations, but revenue on a loss. You can make $10 and lose $10 million. You still lost $9.999 million. So it doesn't matter if the revenue beat. So yeah, you can go ahead and post that if you like. But anyway, besides the point, and the idea that what Jess is talking about is that layer twos, and regardless if there's one or there's 10,000 of them, yeah, Coinbase is another competitor, and yeah, they could probably suck again, because they did suck at NFTs when they had like literally $10,000 worth of volume in a day. It's irrelevant to the point of the base chain. Like, if Ethereum can't scale, and Ethereum is being used constantly, and the average cost for Ethereum rises, your layer 2 will also rise regardless of how you use it, because you will have to divvy up that cost by the amount of people that require to be part of that rollup. So if Ethereum tomorrow becomes super successful in the sense that people use it, but each transaction now costs $5,000, that cost will go on to the user onto a layer 2, and you're further removed from the equation as a user, because you're now part of a secondary system or a tertiary system that requires you to divvy up that money with other players, because you are not, quote unquote, rich enough to be part of the base chain and be more, again, the part of like the sovereign individual.
Okay, but why aren't you a sovereign individual? Because you're not on the base chain. Like, and to top it off, you're sitting here talking about a dying business, but like, all of the statistics are pointing up. I haven't seen anything pointing down, other than the charts. The charts are pointing down. Let's not get there. But all of the statistics with users are pointing up. Like, and this whole thing, like, and I get where you're going with this. You think it's a big rug and everything, but you're bringing up really bad numbers here, Hector.
Well, he didn't say that. I mean, anything that I agree with what Hector just said. He didn't say anything that was out of pocket or like way out of line.
Yeah, real quick.
I said that. Go ahead, Dal.
I think your point about Coinbase having issue with the business model, I think that's granted, but I don't see how that directly applies to them building a rollup, right? And your second point about rollup not being efficient because the main layer is not going to be efficient. As of today, as of right now, a transactional Arbitrum is going to cost you 20 cents, right? And it's going to take about maybe 3 to 4 seconds to settle. So what Hector is saying is that eventually there's going to be so much success on rollups that those transactions, when they get rolled back down to layer 1, they're going to create way more expensive transaction on the mainnet. But if you think about it from that point of view, it doesn't make sense because most of the volume is actually moving on to layer 2s, they're being rolled up. So, and this idea that you become a secondary citizen because you don't have the same rights as if you make transaction on layer 1 directly, that's only true for the moment, and it's a temporary moment where your transaction are not rolled back down to layer 1. And the more activity there is on roll up, the faster your transaction will be rolled back down to the mainnet. And actually, if you really worry about the capacity of layer 1, just wait for product charting, which is kind of hard to pronounce, but it's coming up after the Shanghai fork, and it's probably going to happen in September. That's going to make the layer 1 custom build or adaptable for layer 2s. So you're going to have a 10x on your performances on your layer 2. So if today you're paying 20 cents, in October, September, you'll be paying 2 cents. If it takes you 3 to 4 seconds, it'll probably take you a sub-second. So we're already seeing people moving away from layer 1, and layer 2s are doing fine. And the fact that Coinbase is adding into the competition, that's good. That's like when you go to a burger place, you go to, I don't know, like McDonald's, there's 3 or 4 other burger places nearby. It's the place to go if you want to get a burger. So it's actually the place to go now if you want to scale on Ethereum.
So, but that's
Coinbase
the whole,
is
I'm
definitely
sorry.
not McDonald's. They're more like, I don't even know what's worse than McDonald's.
Can I just make a point here?
Go ahead, and then we'll get to the hands.
But that's been the whole thing with layer 2s, is that they need volume. Like I figured, we've said this a million times. We've talked about this with Matic. We've talked about this with everything. Every single layer 2 needs volume. And Hector, he's not wrong. They're going to cause the layer 1 to be way too expensive. But that's the whole point. Eventually, it does happen. Eventually, DAO, if they don't, like Ethereum needs to do a couple of things for it to get cheaper, bro. You can't have fees with very minimal volume going from $2 to $15. Like,
look up
that's not
Dank
normal.
sharding. Look up Dank sharding. I just said it.
Yeah, I
Charting?
was reading the paper for Base, and it was the same fluff, like, oh, it's L2 powered by the security of Ethereum. So isn't Optimism have their own set of consensus? Could somebody clarify how that works?
So basically, in modular architecture, you're dividing the blockchain into different layers, right? You have the execution layer, you have the consensus layer, you have the settlement layer, and you have the data availability layer, right? So when it comes to Optimism, they're just focusing on execution. So what they do is they say, hey, we have the same EVM for developers to deploy their smart contract and provide lending and trading, things like that. And then, as Hector was saying, they then roll up a bunch of transactions together and then send it back to the main layer as one transaction. So they rely today on Ethereum as the consensus layer, as the data availability layer, and as the settlement layer. But all those 4 layers can actually be 4 different chains. So as we move towards modularity, there's things like Celestia for data availability, right? So it'll take like hours to really like deep dive into it. But the short answer is they depend on Ethereum for consensus, for settlement, and for
Yeah,
security.
but I'm not talking about the settlement. So who validates the transactions that happen on Optimism? You're giving me a runaround, Al.
Well, I'm saying basically it's Ethereum, right? So they roll up the transaction and they say, we're thinking, that's what it's called, optimistic. Roll them up, and then for 7 days, people can contest those transactions. If they're not, then
I remember that. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, if they're not, then basically they're assumed to be correct. In the case of ZKs, there's actually a test to make sure that they're actually right before you push them back to Ethereum. But technically, for both rollups, it's Ethereum that's actually the consensus layer that's making the decision.
And it's via bridge, right? That you go to Optimism. So is it a bridge?
Yeah, you can think of it as a bridge, like a trust minimized bridge.
What do you mean if I can think about it as a bridge? Like, how do the funds get to the Optimism layer?
So the smart contracts, or basically all those rollups, is just smart contract deployed on Ethereum, right? As opposed to you like leveraging a bridge that then like send your transaction between 2 chains. It's actually the smart contract deployed on Ethereum that says, hey, every so often I roll up a bunch of transactions, then I verify them on Ethereum.
So it's like a middleman. They're just gathering the transactions, dumping it all in one smart contract, and then settling it on Ethereum. That's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, and the thing about Optimistic is like the reason it's called optimistic rollers, it's with the optimism that all the transactions are valid. So what happens if a transaction is in that bundle is not valid?
There's a 7-day period where anyone, so it's not just the person who's involved in that transaction, there's an incentive to say that transaction was invalid because there's a reward for you to verify that all those transactions are correct, right? So that's the case of optimistic, but that actually begs the question: why they didn't go the route of ZKs where you don't have the 7-day period? By default, everything is verified through zero knowledge, and it's actually like Polygon is saying they're going to have the ZK EVM ready in March, so the timing is a little bit iffy.
So
Can I go now, or
yeah, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Oh no, I just want to bring up 2 quick points. I posted the excerpts from the earning report. This is just one quick point I want to touch on. The earning report that just came out for Coinbase, okay? Because I just don't like when people just say stuff, okay? So total assets for Coinbase grew to $89 billion in 2022. And yeah, 16% year-over-year decline. It went down to $5.3 billion in cash. That is not broke, sir. Okay, do you know how much $1 billion is? Okay, $1 billion, $1 billion is a lot of money. Imagine 5. And 2022 was a bear market. So of course, I could throw a dart. A lot of companies lost money last year. So let's not use 2022. So yeah, that's all I want to point out. All right, Coinbase is not a dying business by at all.
I agree with you, Matt, on that, because I'm looking back at all the other businesses. I mean, it was just a bad year all around.
All right. Let's go to Death. Oh, or I'm sorry, I think Hector wanted to respond, then we'll go to Death and Daniel.
So to draw a quick analogy as to why you become a second-class citizen, this whole idea is that, and the bridge was a good thing to bring up. So right now on Ethereum, in Ethereum land, right, the land of Ethereum, everyone has their own car and drives whenever they want, wherever they want, right? You can go anywhere you'd want to go. But for some reason, we've built this bridge into this new land called Arbitrum land. So then we take this bridge to Arbitrum land, and in Arbitrum land, we can do whatever we want there. It's cool, it's fun. But whenever we want to go back to Ethereum land, the only way to go back to Ethereum land is we have to take a bus together. There's no other way to drive back. So we have to take a bus together, and that bus, there's a cost to that bus because it costs what the Ethereum gas is. So in order for us to get on that bus, we need to make sure there's a lot of people there because that bus can get super expensive because all the people in Ethereum land are dictating what the cost is. So if there's one person on that bus is going to be super expensive for that one person. The hope is to have 1,000 people on that bus so that bus is cheaper for everyone to ride back to Ethereum land. So, but the point is, you can't ever drive your own bus. The point isn't that you should never drive your own bus in Arbitrum land back to Ethereum. And that's where you have this dependency on the hope and idea that other people can subsidize your cost of living back in Ethereum land in the future. But the idea there is that you should always want to be in Ethereum land and have your own ability to do what you want and have your own car and go wherever you please and not deal with this whole bus ideology.
Facts. I do not want to be riding no bus. Somebody wanted to respond. Go ahead. I don't know who wanted to respond to that.
And go for it. Then Brad, then Def, then I'll go.
I didn't want to respond to that. I have my own theory about anyways. Yeah, no, I was gonna
That's why there's Bitcoin.
talk about
He's cool on the bus. Daniel's cool riding the bus.
No. Well, that's a bad analogy. You're not a second-class citizen. You're the same citizen. You're just living in a different land, basically. So we're gonna talk analogies. Yeah. So you're out in the woods right now. You're a fucking guy with nothing in your pockets. You have holes in your shoes, and you're out there in the woods. And sometimes you have to come down to the town to get your shit. You want to get milk or whatever. So that's where you get to L1s. But eventually, the idea is that the woods are gonna, provide. So you don't have to get take that bus to town. You're gonna live happily in the woods. There's gonna be onboarding, offboarding directly from L2s. And you won't have to deal with L1s if you don't have to. You don't have to pay that fee. You just have to onboard like Juno Finance, is a pretty good tool until they run into some issues but that's that's gonna be the final goal for this. I wanted to comment on DAOs I have a theory for why Coinbase used optimistic, but let's just talk about Hector now. Unless you guys want to do it.
No, go on your theory. I'd love to hear it, why they picked that.
Okay. And maybe this is also for you guys, and maybe Dow, maybe you want to chime in, or maybe, I don't know if you agree or disagree, but so it all comes down to the architecture. There's two things that Coinbase probably saw. One is the architecture of ZKs and optimistic. And the second one is how ready they are to take a big challenge like they're gonna throw at them, right? I think those are the two. There might be more, but those are the two probably most important. And to me, let's tackle the last one, right? The how ready they are. Optimistics are up and running. They are good to go. They can, out of the box, they can just grab them and start building, and they'll go. Just really almost like no issues with optimistic rollups right now. And they could take this challenge, and I think they can. That's why Coinbase went with them. Whereas CK rollups, they're still coming up with the EVM compatible rollups. They're a big news, they're really big news, and they're just coming out this year and then the last part of last year. But they're fairly new, and I don't think Coinbase wanted to kind of go that route. But I think point
Why
number
are they
one
in
is,
such a hurry if ZK rollups are the future?
well, yeah, I think it's because point number one right here, the point number one is probably going to answer that question. And it's because the architecture of optimistic and ZKs, right? ZKs are very computational heavy. They can take more computations than optimistic rollups. That's my take. I think that's what I get from reading what they do. So CK rollups are not necessarily the tool that you want to build on for anything that's related to just like fees transfers and things like that. You don't really care about that. That's like using a high-end Prius to take you to the gas station. You don't want to use a high-end Prius, right? You want to use your beat up car to go to the gas station. So that's why I don't think, with the complications of being still fairly new, and they recognize as a tool for high computational value transactions, they don't want to use that. They want to go to the optimistic, which is less computational. Everything goes until someone raises a red flag. Everything goes and is out of the box ready. So I think, for what they're trying to accomplish, optimistic provides that solution right now. And I'm 100% sure that later they're going to come up with a ZK solution for sure.
Great points. I'll let Dow chime in, and then we'll go to Brad.
Yeah, I'll be quick because I see the hands up. So yeah, I agree with everything you say, DeFi Dan. It makes sense that they went for not so high computation and not ready to be used in the sense that it's ready for now for optimistic, right? But I want to touch real quick on what Hector is saying, because actually the analogy makes sense. I agree with you that it's a great metaphor to think of the bus, but you're making it sound like people are trying to go everywhere. Everybody's trying to get to the same place, the next block. It's not like there's 10,000 places to go in crypto. We're all trying to get to the next block. So in the analogy that you have, actually the bus makes sense because let's say you have 200 people, you have two options. You roll up a couple of buses and you put those people in the bus and they go from point A to point B, or you have a really fast car and you move two people at a time, one person at a time, back and forth, back and forth. What's more efficient? Obviously, it makes sense to have a bus, right? And add 1 second point that I forgot. Okay, yeah. So your point was to say, oh well, it doesn't make sense because the bus might be empty. No, what happened for rollups is they basically say based on the volume that we have, we will have bus, to fill that capacity. If they see that there's more volume, they'll provide more buses, but the buses are adapting to the demand that there is for them. So if there's more demand, then the rollups will happen faster than they're happening today.
All right, hold on. We gotta scrap this bus. We gotta scrap the bus analogy. It's shit. All right, listen, it's like this. Okay, if let's say you have a bar. Okay, there's a bar that you go for drinks, and you have two lines. One, you have to show your ID to the bouncer, and the other one is using a ZK snark, right? So, being that it's an optimistic roll up, right? Optimistic roll ups realistically is a ZK stark as opposed to a snark, right? And all that is it's giving the user the benefit of the doubt. That's all it is. That's why it happens quicker. It's because essentially then you have that challenge period, but right off the get, the bouncer's like, you know what? You look 21, go ahead. We'll worry about it later once you're all inside the bar. Realistically, with all it's doing is, the difference between a snark and a stark. Um, the starks are faster because they're optimistic, right? So it's gonna just assume, and then you have a challenge period. Whereas the snark is gonna be smaller in size, but it's gonna be slower to generate because essentially you're giving the bouncer a math problem. You're just, essentially you're telling the bouncer what year you're born in as opposed to showing him your ID. And now he has to think about it and he has to do the math himself. And then he can verify, oh, cool, you are old enough to get in. Go ahead and hop inside. It has less to do with really the amount of people passing through either line, and it's more about once they're inside, how many, I guess, like if you have 2 rooms in this bar, how many can each room hold of these people, and are they all over 21? Once you submit the final proof, you can verify that everybody in that room is 21, or there's a challenge, right? And so now you have to go back through and find out who's incorrect, either who lied or at which of those users did the bouncer fuck up his math on. And that's, I think, a more accurate description of how this is working, on how optimistic rollups are working, and how ZK Starks, ZK Snarks, onto layer twos. You get a lot more kind of visual, I think, from that. What's up, Hector? Fight me.
Wait, I wanted to chime in on something because you guys have all, all these analogies, the bus, the club, you got to wait and verify. Isn't the whole point of blockchain that we don't have to do all this? Like, and
exactly,
again,
Jess. There you go.
I'm just going based upon the conversation. We got to wait 7 days. We got to make sure it's correct.
Yep. She's getting it.
Yeah, but
I don't know. Oh God, I got Hector riled up with my statement.
I got an analogy for you, but we don't have
real quick, Nicole, real quick.
Okay, guys, we got to get past the analogies. You guys are confusing everybody.
No,
let's go to Death, and then we'll go. Nico, we'll go to you afterwards, and then Hector.
Thank you, of course, for always inviting me up, Jess. And without getting in the middle of Hector and Dow right now, my question for Dow is, take Ethereum out of the equation. If Ethereum wasn't there, would everything that exists on Optimism and all the execution logic still exist if I didn't even have to worry about going to Ethereum?
Yeah, that's a tough question because it is its own chain, right? But the reason it is efficient is because it's rolling up the transaction that it receives, and it's basically saying, I trust the layer underneath me to make sure that this is my settlement layer, my data availability layer. So it's basically just focusing on just high and fast execution, and everything else is delegating to Ethereum. So it could exist on its own, but it would be a poor chain.
So it only took us about 45 minutes for somebody to admit that it's its own chain. Go ahead, Dad.
Who was disputing that?
Dad, did you have anything to add, or was that your only question?
No, that was it. I just wanted to make sure that my understanding.
Yeah, that was a good question.
Wanted to clarify that point.
Hector with me arguing in the replies about the money. Man, bro, I do this. Don't do it.
Go ahead. You guys go at it. I'll give you 2 minutes. What is your beat?
Yeah, so my argument here.
Oh, go ahead.
Matt had suggested that Coinbase assets had grown 321% increase to $89 billion. But if you actually read the report and look at the assets, you can see that the increase comes from a line item called customer crypto funds, which has a footnote number 1, which had a value of $75 billion, or $75 million, or sorry, $75 billion. Yeah, $75 billion. Sorry, and then in 2021 had a number of 0 because Coinbase did not count that in 2021 or any prior year. So
they didn't report it.
Exactly. They didn't count it.
Report it. No, counting it and reporting are two different things. They didn't report it. You really think the customer assets went down to zero? That means if I check my Coinbase account right now, there should be $0 in there. And obviously that's not the case. They didn't report it.
Right, because it's not an asset. Because they don't own customer funds, but for some reason in 2022 they feel that they own customer funds, so they consider themselves an asset. So anyway, besides the point is that if you don't count customer funds, right, as part of your assets, they actually lost 38% of their asset value. So they're down to $11 billion instead of $18 billion. So to believe that there's actually a 321% increase on a company that's lost $2.4 billion in a year, which you can see over time, revenue growth is dwindling. I don't know how you believe that this is a
How much
growing
cash
business.
do they have on hand, Hector?
Cash on hand is 4.4 billion.
All right, say less. That's it.
And
even if they lost all the customer funds, they have $4.4 billion in cash.
Yes, but that's like saying if I have $10,000 but I have $100 million in liabilities, do I really have $10,000 in cash? Like, no, you can't view this. You don't have a. No, it doesn't matter.
They actually have cash.
Time's up. Time's up. I mean, I agree with both of you. Yes, Coinbase is, I'm biased. I'm a Binance fan. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we got to be realistic. Like, Coinbase user base has been declining. Their revenue has been going down. So I kind of agree with both of you guys. I don't know the specifics, but are we going to resolve this or are you guys done?
Well, the result you can resolve it by just looking at
the earnings reports. They're if they were declining, they would be delisted. You understand that? They would be delisted. They would be a failing business, like how you described it was.
What do you?
They would delist them. They would get delisted.
Who would get? They would get delisted from who?
They're traded. They're a publicly traded.
The stock exchange, bro.
The stock exchange.
The stock exchange does not delist you based on your earnings. It delists you based on your price
off of your share value. Yes, share value. If your shares go down,
it's based on your price of your stock. That's literally the rule.
I know. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If they were doing as bad as you claim they are, they would be delisted.
No, I'm not claiming anything. I'm showing you what the actual report is telling you. I'm sorry you don't understand how financial.
All right. We're not going to get anywhere here. I give you guys your chance. Dow, go ahead.
Yeah, just to change the topic a little bit. I think, Jess, you made a really good point, which is when we hear all those analogy, you say the 7-day window period. Oh, it's optimism is on chain. Yeah, that sounds like we're moving away from what the point of this whole thing of just having a peer-to-peer network is all about. But I think the issue that we're having is that, and that's just my opinion, right? But I think the issue that we're having is that most technologies, by the time we touch them, we don't know how they implement it. We don't get to see the details. We don't get to see inside an iPhone or inside a car and have this conversation, how the engine should be built. Should the steering wheel should be over here and the chassis over there? And we rarely, as consumers, have so much information about how the cake is being made, right? And those implementation details actually do matter a whole lot. So as an end user, yeah, like it all sounds like it's just like, Chinese weird bullshit, but those those architectural decisions actually point to long-term sustainability or not of a system. And in the case of roll-ups, I think it's hard to talk about roll-ups without actually talking about modularity. And whether you're on the phone or whether you're on your laptop listening to this conversation, the microchip inside your device has modular architecture, right? You're on Twitter. The reason you're able to get your data back from your backend is because they're using a modular architecture backend. So the design was the conversation last year in 2022 is between monolithic, which is your blockchain does everything, versus modular, and you divide the blockchain into different pieces, and those pieces can specialize and then combine to create the same outcome or a better outcome. So that was the conversation in 2022. And as far as I can tell, most of the developers, they're actually implementing the things that we talk about. They're moving the side of modular. So that's why that conversation still matters.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And what I wanted to add is I put up a tweet from, because you mentioned UX and so I put up a tweet from John from Lunar Crush and how he says 3 years later, he thought we'd be focusing on user experience. And here we are still focusing on gas fees. How many layer 2s do we need? Don't you guys think that at some point people should focus on UX and not just 100 more fucking layers?
We just need one. The one Coinbase just did.
eventually these layers are going to be like interoperable. I hope at this point, because you've got small projects sitting there making their own layer twos. Like, it's really ridiculous, right? And the point I wanted to make before, it's like everybody's giving this analogy about Ethereum and going back and forth from a layer one and layer two. And Dow made a very valid point. We've never seen anything where people are giving their input on how this stuff is built. But what people have to understand, number one, Ethereum is not end all and be all. I can get the fuck off of any of these buses and take my cab straight to Bitcoin or any other blockchain I want to go
You'll
to.
be an Uber X on Bitcoin.
Whatever the case is. How about an Uber Black? I did Uber Black. I was driving the Suburban for them at some point. So like, I don't understand. Like, because you got Cardano, you got a bunch of other blockchains, you got Polkadot coming, Polkadot. Like, everybody has to be a maximalist with all of this stuff. Like, just as she likes Binance, I'm a huge fan of BNB Smart Chain. So like, I don't know why everybody's stuck on one blockchain and all of this.
That was Daniel. You said something that wasn't ETH, so he had to make sure to stop you.
Yeah, I figured. Whatever.
Shout out to Active. She put out a tweet about people on Arbitrum ride the bus. So now Arbitrum users are bus riders is going to be the joke now.
What's Arbitrum? What are you talking about?
Arbitrum. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make coffee here.
Well, the Binance, the Binance doesn't need a bus. It's just one of those clown cars where they can fit like so many people in there. So yeah, that's why it doesn't apply to Binance.
You're horrible, man.
Yeah, well, the good thing is that they're going to need a lot of buses and not 2 buses to fill up for Arbitrum and Ethereum. So, but we're not going to fight ETH versus BNB because we could go over that. Let's go to Brett and then we'll go to Pump, who's new, and then Hector.
Jess, don't you rather skateboard?
Yeah. Skateboards like stacks, like. But no, really, like with these L2s, like really all it is, I mean, I forget who said it, but you nailed it. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of L2s. I mean, because essentially all they are is an EVM or a compatible private chain. And I mean, it's very easy at this point with the tools that are around to spin up a private chain.
You've got NFT projects thinking about making their own layer 2s. I'm sorry. Like, it's out of this world.
Yeah, everyone's doing it because, I mean, what it does, having a private chain as of how it sits currently, you alleviate a lot of SEC and legal headaches and hurdles for like big brands that want to come play in Web3, but they're worried about first-party data. They're worried about reporting crypto on their books. They're worried about the legal implications of saying, when moon and this will go up and promise of profits and all of that BS. Well, I mean, if you have a private chain and you control the entire supply, you control all of the validator nodes, and it's never traded on a DEX or a centralized exchange, that has no value. So that token, I mean, you can use it for anything you want, to do whatever you want to, reward your community, reward your members, do whatever you want to do, and then ultimately have the proof of that transaction settle up onto a mainnet. And I think that we're going to see a lot of that happening this year, especially as more kind of major brands start to pour in. And realistically, that's all that Polygon's trying to do with their ZK EVM is create a platform that they can all of these people that are worried about legal implications and are worried about reporting crypto and all of that stuff, it's going to give them a platform to where they can have this stuff, protect data, protect, anything that they're doing internally while still having that final, proof essentially on a mainnet. And being that, again, I don't want to go down the Ethereum versus BTC rabbit hole here, but I mean, a lot of people are building, EVM compatibility in mind.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you.
Pump, what's up? Good morning. Well, I know you're into the Solana ecosystem. Will you be using Coinbase chain?
Yo, what's up? What's going on, bro? What's up? What's going on, Jeff? What the fuck is going on? Right? Yeah, let's go, baby. Yo, GM, what's up, everyone? It's been a while. I spoke to Jace. I just checked my Twitter account. I found out shadow ban. So I just had some good talking about Arbitrum and stuff. I don't know much about the shit because I think I saw some memes talking, some project things, some X2. X5. I don't know much about that. I just came up here to just shout out to Jess. It's been a while. Like I saw my homie. What's up, Jess? What's up? How have you been? How have you been, bro? What the fuck is wrong with you? You left Twitter, so like this is the first time I'm seeing your space again. Like what the hell
You
is
booted
going
me
on?
out of your group chat, but that's fine. I never last in those
Oh, you
group
know,
chats
no,
because I don't engage.
Chat, show me a DM right now. I'm gonna add you back. I love you, shit. No, I've missed you. I love your voice. I love your PFP. No, I've been looking for you on my timeline. Like, what the fuck this guy went to? Like, what the hell is going on? Yo, what's up? No, I'm very sorry, everyone on the space. Like, you guys are new to this bozos. They're just motherfuckers. Solana PFPs, guys. That's how we do. That's how we behave. That's a lifestyle. We got no life. We only have degens. We move with bozos rugs. We love that shit. Yo, let's go. Let's just listening. I'm gonna log out my account soon. Yeah, I'm shadowbound, so I gotta take a break. So I think I'm coming back my banga soon. Yeah, let's go, baby. Jess, I love you.
Thanks, Bomb. Thanks for coming by. Good to kind of break the ice. Yeah, since Pump did come up and he's from Solana, I did put up a tweet from one of the Solana founders. They were going back and forth about this whole, L2 narrative. And obviously they think L2s are not the way because Solana's an L1. But yeah, I do see Brooke up here, so I want to make sure to get to her. But let's go to Hector and Death really quick. All right.
Just to Red's point is like the whole point of an initial blockchain like Ethereum is to have the attestation that something did occur. And I agree with you, but you don't need to have private blockchains to have that. You can have private databases that have point systems and whatnot that are, quote unquote coins, and you can not roll up, but you can attest that thing is true by putting it onto a blockchain. That's the point of it. It's a third party source of truth. So the idea of having private blockchains and multiple blockchains, it kind of dilutes the whole premise and purpose of why you need a blockchain in the first place, which is attestation for things that occur in time. So I don't agree with the multi-chain narrative. I think it's just a scam idea that people need to have a validation for why they should pick an array of blockchains and, the law pumped together, rather than the idea that there should be a scalable one solution for people can actually create things of value on top.
Yeah, agreed, homie, real quick. But like the only benefit, I like 100%. It's realistically like what do we need to put on chain versus what doesn't need to be put on chain. It's been an argument forever, and I agree with you that like standardized databases with counters and point systems work, but you eliminate the P2P level, and as far as the permissionless transfer of those points and tokens to each other, and that's really one of the only benefits to that, that scenario with having a blockchain versus a database.
Well, no, because you said that, like, for example, you said you want private companies that, don't want to adhere to the SEC rules, so they don't want to have things listed and stuff. So it would still live within the container of that environment. So that kind of doesn't have a point. So if, for example, if Starbucks wanted to have P2P trading of their Starbucks points, and they wanted to attest that these things are real, they can have one blockchain that does that all for them, and then you can do that with Sephora points and do that with Nordstrom points and whatever, and then you could have a whole idea that these things can live together or in their own containers. But having one blockchain that a group of developers can build on and build tooling for it because it scales, I think that's a more promising idea than to say, oh, we have Solana and then we have Arbitrum, then we have Optimism, then we have this other bullshit, right? So it's like, it's dumb. It really is dumb, and it's all fed into this narrative that we have all these coins that people need to buy, and then they're all going to pump, and then eventually it's going to become a thing. Like, that's not the reason. The reason you want to have this multi-chain world is because there's a plethora of tokens to buy from. That's it. That's the only reason why. Like, there's no actual utility value as to having multiple chains.
Well, you don't have to have like a value necessarily assigned to a token though, right? So I mean, like, let's say tokens are points, right? We can just assume that. And at the end of the day, a blockchain is just a fancy database, right? But so when you're dealing with first party data and like customer data and things like that, it has to stay private, right? And so realistically, if you have a network, let's just say it's a private chain that's EVM compatible, right? So all of the proof of any transactions and any interactions will ultimately settle on the Ethereum mainnet. However, you can't be posting, wallet addresses for customers, realistically on this public chain. There's already rumors going around right now about, GDPR in Europe as far as your wallet address is considered PII. And so if you have a private environment, right, and let's say you have a trusted validator node that's ran by Starbucks in this environment, you also have a trusted validator node that's ran by Nike in this environment. Because it's a private environment, you can essentially share your customer data between those two companies without ever having to make it public once it settles on the main net. And that allows just a ridiculous amount of consumer insights and cross promotions and marketing direct to consumers, without ever having to reveal any PII. And I think that's really
I agree.
That's really like why these layer twos are popping up. And layer twos, realistically, it's just, I mean, again, dude, they're just private chains that people are spinning up.
Yeah, do you think and that's like my problem with it, that I feel like the name is like a little bit deceiving. And even when I was reading the base documentation, it's like, yeah, it's basically saying, oh, this is Ethereum. Shit, it's not. But guys, let's get through to death, and I do want to make sure that Bert gets a chance to speak as well.
Yeah.
And then Nico, sorry.
And I'll be quick, because to what you were saying, Brett, is right. It's something I think, right. This is a great example of why this entire space is just a POC, a proof of concept for all of the different technologies that will probably be able to be utilized in the future in different ways. And you know what, Hector, this is kind of where I disagree with you on the multi-chain facet, because you could take one industry, finance, per perspective, right, where financial institutions and people don't trust each other, and being able to have this intermediary layer where we can agree on the code base, right, as a trust solution between me and you without having to trust each other. I think that's the best example of where this new database open source structure can exist and be utilized in this multi-chain kind of facet.
All great points all around. Really appreciate you guys' input. Sometimes some of the things you guys say goes way over my head, but trying to keep up. I like the bus and the club analogies. I found those very funny. But Brooke, welcome. How's it going? How do you feel about Coinbase launching Base Chain? And are you going to be a Base maxi?
No. Hi, guys.
Hey, Brooke.
Good morning. Hi, good morning, my loves. I actually have to say, well, first of all, I walked in. We don't walk into Twitter spaces, do we? Whatever. To like a bunch of arguing, but I have to say, like, I totally agree with Hector. But also, I put butter in my coffee this morning, and I have to tell you, like, I ran out of creamer, and I was like, oh, I've heard about this butter and coffee thing, and it's really good. I don't know if I'm gonna like replace, my sugar-free creamer, but no, all week I have been in midterms and now have straight A's in asymmetric cryptography and cryptanalysis. So no, I haven't had a ton of time to like read through this ridiculousness, but I just think it's another marketing thing. And I tweeted something yesterday like, please stop creating Fugazi tech jargon like superchain, and then got in an argument because somebody thought Web3 is Fugazi tech jargon. And so I don't know, like, at least it gives us something to talk about, right? But yeah, I agree with a lot of what's happening here in this conversation is like, it's just another, maybe it's good to look at it as innovation, as I always talk about. Like, I've watched it since the 90s, and innovation is my jam. Like, I love watching disruptive technology, but this is, I don't know, it feels like weird. And
yeah, because it's not like they're building anything new, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And again, I didn't have a ton of time because I was studying and doing classes, but it doesn't feel like anything new. And like the blue dot and the, like, what, come on, like, where's the like disruptive, things that people are doing, like actually new things that are moving everything forward. It just seems like it's just like a big vicious cycle, whatever, of people doing the same shit with a different logo. So I don't know. Yeah.
Oof, that was a good take. I like that
thanks. But yeah, lots of arguing when I walked in. So everybody take a deep breath. What?
I said, what else is new?
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's just passionate about crypto.
I love that.
Which is why I love having you guys all here. Go ahead, Dal.
Yeah, so I think that's a good question. What else is new? As far as I understand, what the Coinbase core devs are trying to do is to decentralize the OP stack, right? Which is Optimism is a chain right now, right? Or a trust minimized bridge or roll up, however you want to look at it. But it's different pieces, right? And so what Coinbase wants to do is actually help out in the development, right? Because what Optimism provided is not just one chain, but basically like a SDK or code to create your own RP based chain. So what Coinbase is saying basically is that they hope to be the second, but not the last RP based roll up, basically. So they're trying to make it into a more accessible for other projects to deploy their own roll ups on top of it. So they're going to help out the development of Optimism, which is not the biggest roll up, right? Arbitrum is number one for sure, by hands down, by volume, by TVL, even by innovation. The cool project right now, whether it's volatility index, IPO alternative for Ethereum, but there's all kinds of really cool innovations happening on Arbitrum. But from the ideology of creating a public service chain, i.e. having really rich conversation between protocols and how to make public services decentralized, those conversations are happening in the forums of Optimism. So I think you have to give credit to Coinbase because, and this is where we get into like the nerd land, but the EIP 4844, which is going to make Ethereum more, I'd say, roll-up friendly, that's being led a great part by the Coinbase core developers. And so they're contributing their time to actually help out creating public services as opposed to making money. So I get the pushback on Coinbase, but in this case, specifically the core devs, I think they're actually adding value to the space.
Interesting. Do you guys think the devs building on Base will have to like KYC and shit? And I'll go to the hands right now. Anybody have any thoughts about that?
I don't think they're going to make them KYC. Like you guys are saying, it's 110 million users on Coinbase, right? How are you going to KYC? Even though they did, but how are you going to KYC 110 million devs and deployments?
It's not going to be 110 million.
Well, yeah,
devs.
that's true, but still, like how are you going to? I don't know about all that. I'm not too sure about KYCing devs here. But like I see what they're doing just because of the DApp wallet they integrated. It's been there for a couple of months that they integrated into the exchange. I was surprised when I went in because they forced me out of Coinbase Pro. I can't use that anymore, and they took my entire portfolio to regular Coinbase or whatever it is, and you have to pay and use fees. Like there's no other way for me to do things a little bit cheaper. So because Coinbase is fairly expensive compared to like every other exchange. So when I saw that and then I'm hearing about this and they didn't add a token, I'm like, all right, let's see how this is going to work out. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dal. Like, is there going to be a difference working with monolithic architecture for the dev? Like, is it going to be easier for them as well? I don't know.
It depends. If you're just looking to deploy adapts, it's probably going to feel the same, right? But now, because of different layers, you might be able to optimize by using. This is super complex. Even me, I don't really understand it. Like the data availability layer that Celestia is providing, you don't have to leverage Ethereum for that. You can use other chains that specialize for that. And there's also Few Labs. Few Labs is basically saying that we can actually remove the consensus layer and just use Ethereum as the settlement layer. So as a developer, you're going to have options to say how deep in the stack do you want to build.
But does it make it easier for an entry-level developer to develop on it?
Isn't it the same thing because it's an EVM compatible chain, right? Isn't it?
It is.
Just like
it is
deploying an EVM smart contract on any other chain.
So that's a good question, Nico, right? So yeah, but what Jess is saying is true. It's just EVM. So if you had like a smart contract on mainnet, you can deploy it. You might have to do a few changes when it's Arbitrum. They call it EVM compatible, but not EVM equivalent. Optimism is equivalent, meaning that your code that works on mainnet will work exactly the same with Optimism. Now, what Arbitrum is saying as well is you have to write your code in Solidity as of today, but actually working on an update where you could use Rust, Java, JavaScript to build your smart contract. That's coming pretty soon.
Fine, but the whole point is for an entry-level dev to come in it's so expensive to deploy anything. That's why you've got everybody going. And I know this is going to do like rugs and all that, but Coinbase might be able to. It's probably going to be a little centralized. I don't know what's going to end up happening with this. Jess might be right. It might be KYC. I have no idea. But that's why, like.
All right. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I thought you were done.
Yeah, I am pretty much done. Like, that's why we have to wait and see. That's it.
All right. We have 2 new speakers. Let's go to Ghost, and then we'll go to Leo. Welcome, Ghost. I hope I said your name right.
Yeah, that's right, Jess. Thanks for having me. I just wanted to chime in a little bit on some of what Hector said and some of what Dao said. I think all you guys are making some really good points with regards to how this would work. I think Death hit it on the money with regards to the multi-chain world. I mean, we see it now with multiple chains sort of trying to handle different verticals, right? You have certain chains that's trying to tackle the a decentralized web. Certain chains are tackling trade finance. Certain chains are tackling money itself and stable coins, right? So you're seeing that play out now. I think it's going to be harder to see sort of Hector's vision as everything's going to be in one chain. Even if you think about it from a risk layer perspective, what makes the most sense is a multi-chain world as this develops. As far as Ethereum is concerned, I have my own doubts whether that's really the route that we should go as well. Having these sort of layer 2s on top of a layer 1 just seems like we're building the same system that we've done in a fancier way, right? Oh, there's a blockchain aspect to it. Yeah, sure, there's a better, sort of system, but it's still the same sort of system that's being built, and that sort of veers off to what this was really about to begin with. That's why privacy coins, I think, are very important, because as this industry develops, you're going to see a lot more of this chokehold that the governments will do to try to steer this industry in the direction they want, right? And I think that's what people need to realize. We all gamify the system for our own monetary game, but at the end of the day, it comes to the expense of what we really need, which was to decentralize some of this stuff away from third-party controls, right? Something to think about, I think, that people forget, because money is so fast in this business that people just say, oh, what's the next big thing so I can make my 10x gains? So great points, everybody. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I think those are definitely great points. Obviously, I see some thumbs down from the maxis. Daniel, did you want to chime in on that?
Not so much chiming in, but like that's a horrible take. Yeah, just leave it at that.
You don't want to elaborate?
No, we'll just go in circles and circles. So.
I agree with a lot of the things he says. I mean, we're talking about 7-day wait periods here, like in the beginning of the conversation. Like, where did this all come from?
Yeah, even OFAC compliant. Come on, guys, OFAC compliant, and you guys are thinking this is not the same system? I mean,
well, one thing on that goes, I did see that the OFAC compliance numbers did go down drastically. I know I fudded that a lot after the POS merge, but I think what is it down to, Daniel or Dow? Is it like 30% or 40%?
About that, then you can still move your things around the Ethereum ecosystem without anybody blocking your transaction. So, I don't know, Ghost. You sound like you have something to sell. So like, this sucks, but I got this. So that's why I'm like, it's horrible.
I don't have anything to sell. I mean, I'm just here for the conversation. I mean,
it's a very maximalist point of view, Daniel. I don't. Yeah. If you don't like ETH, then we must be selling something. Like, that's very extreme.
No.
And real quick for the OFAC thing, unless it's 100% of all the nodes that are OFAC compliant, as long as it's one node, your transaction will go through. It might not go through right away, but it will go through. So it's that. I think the FUD is overblown. That conversation is past.
Yeah, you need building blocks and things. Otherwise, you'll end up with a chain that does not expand and does not adapt to the requirements, right? So yeah, to say that just because you're building a few things on top of a layer one, you were kind of replicating the traditional finance system. I mean, that's like a horrible take.
I don't think it's horrible. So do you think having to wait for 7 days for a transaction to settle on the main layer, that's what blockchain is supposed to be?
No, I don't think that's acceptable. And
well, isn't that what optimistic rollups do?
No, that's the yeah, optimistic rollup. You're right. Yeah, but no, I mean you don't have to use it, right?
I know, but I think we're just making the clarification. Yeah, like I think we got to keep it real, right? Like.
Yeah, no. So the way it works is that your transaction will go through, right? You don't wait, and correct me if I'm wrong now, but your transaction will go through. It's just that anyone has a 7-day period to scan the books and see if there's anything wrong. Now, if there's something wrong, the node that provider the node that actually validated that block is gonna get slashed. So from a user perspective, you're fine. Your transaction is gonna get in the next block, no big deal. Yeah, this is nothing like when you are moving from bank to bank and you have to wait the 3 days or whatever for your deposit to clear. No, your transaction is valid and is good. The node, the operator is gonna get slashed for being careless, basically.
So are you saying there's no way to block these transactions? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, on the optimistic rollup, everything goes. Everything goes. That's the game. Think about it as a production line of blocks. So, and then you have different lines of production. You're making cups of coffee. Everything goes. But at the end of the day, there's gonna be a guy, IQ, like quality assurance, I guess, or he's gonna be looking at those cups and say, "Yep, that's a bad cup," and he's not gonna stop the production line. Everything goes. He's just gonna go to the guy that created the bad cup and say, "Hey, you need to fix this shit." And
so wait, DeFi. So wait, Daniel, hold on. If there is a bad cup, but that cup gets spent before the 7 days, what's the recourse?
Okay, it got spent, man. We need to figure out why that cup got made it to the bottom. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah.
So if the slash isn't as high as the cup, then what's the incentive?
Well, no. So basically, the mechanism is that you keep doing that. That node is going to be losing basically their stash, right? Their stack for that node, right? So from a economics perspective, it's just you're burning your own money to do nothing, right? To basically to do nothing.
Right. I agree with you. But if my incentive is not in the slashing, like I could care less if you take my money slashing, but I get incentivized by giving you a fake cup, right? Then there's no recourse for that, is what you're saying.
Well, you're getting slashed.
Right, exactly. But I'm saying if I don't care about the slashing, if I don't care that you slash me because I know you're going to slash me, but I'm going to take advantage of you because you're going to accept my fake cup, and there's where I make my money. You're telling me that there's no recourse for that.
No, the miner is money. Like the miner doesn't get the reward, does not receive the block.
Right,
reward.
but me as the miner, if I'm incentivized to give you a fake cup because I'm making the money on the fake cup, not on the slashing. I don't care about the slashing. I agree. I'm going to lose money on slashing, but I'm going to lie to someone by giving them a fake cup because it's more incentivizing for me. You telling me that there is no way to fix that right now.
Well, I mean, essentially, it's like you're running a node, or and it costs you money in just a shit electric.
Yeah, but he doesn't care for that. Like the other thing is like correct me down if I'm wrong, but it's not like you always create the block. You don't get that. You don't know who's gonna be the next block creator. So it's not like you can prepare for this and say, oh gosh, I'm next. I'm gonna put a few bad transactions in here. But you are right, Hector, right? It's not a perfect system. The idea is like the incentive is like you're getting slashed. Now, if you have vast amount of money, yeah, I suppose that could be a attack vector, right? Basically, yeah, you're flooding the network. Basically just putting bad transactions. You and another friend, you're basically moving transactions around. Now, it's not like you are double spending or anything like that, right? You're not doing that. You're basically moving a good transaction for whatever nefarious reasons or whatever reason this is that you're doing, you're not double spending anything, and you're getting slashed. So what's the point? I don't know.
Guys, we're going in circles, but I think that was a great point to bring up, just so everybody has a good understanding of how it works. But I do want to make sure that we get to Leo, who's had his hand up for a while. I know he's excited to go over to Base Chain. Leo, welcome.
Yes, I'm excited. Isn't because I'm hearing everybody talking? Isn't this a good thing? I mean, as far as a multi-chain, don't we all want to go there? I mean, eventually, yeah. I mean, I know decentralization and stuff like that. But at one point or another, for it to be mass adopted, we got to give some, take some. You know what I mean? It's got to start somewhere. But I see this as a good thing, especially with for me with Solana anyway. And I see it as a plus for me.
Yeah, I think one thing that I did read that was good, that it does look like they're looking to like integrate with other blockchains and be able to have like bridging access to other blockchains, including Solana, which I was surprised to see on there since they're not EVM compatible. So I think that's a great point, Leo. But yeah, well, thanks for coming by and for sharing that. I totally agree with you. But let's
thank you for having me. Well, anyway, good morning, Jess. Sorry I didn't. Tammy, Dow, whatever, Nico, Brooke. Congratulations on your test. Great job, and I'm glad you're still studying. I wish I was able to do that. But more power to you, man. You're killing it. Hector, DeFi Daniel, you guys are maxis, bro.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know what I enjoy more, Hector arguing with the BTC maxis or the ETH maxis.
We're trying to keep it real.
I'm torn.
We're keeping it real.
I'd say BTC maxis and ETH maxis are the Spider-Man meme just pointing at each other. They both think that they're right, but they're actually the exact same person.
Oh my God, I'm dead.
Hey, Jess has been hanging around, and I've seen Tammy too. They've been hanging around with BTC maxis in spaces, and they've been co-hosting their.
Because we got Ordinals, baby.
Yeah, let's fucking go. I see Hodl D. I think I saw Hodl D in here, the #1 Bitcoin influencer. He's requesting to come up. So sorry, got to boot somebody down. Because he is the #1 BTC influencer.
Did you say he's the #1 Bitcoin
Oh my God, for real? Oh shit.
He's the Ordinal of the Ordinals, guys.
What oh my God. I had no idea that you were the #1 influencer. Congratulations.
I am not.
I think you are. No,
pretty sure you are.
Yeah, I've learned, even if you're, I would say probably not an influence educator, because I've learned so much from you, and I appreciate, all the spaces that you've held. But yeah, anything happening in the world of ordinals? I saw the Sappy Seals did something. What is happening on ordinals? And I saw somebody talk about ordinals on Dogecoin. We'll talk about that afterwards. But what's going on in BTC ordinal world, D?
Nothing. It's been quite a quiet week, actually. I mean, I hosted spaces a little bit in the beginning there, and then I'm not saying it died off, but they're definitely a lot smaller spaces. I think people have just kind of gone to the conclusion where you can scream all you want and pound sand, but people are going to keep inscribing no matter what you think, I guess, right? That's the end of the day.
But don't you think that like market sentiment, just using a phrase that we all use in crypto, and the sentiment for that type of thing has kind of died out, like using, I mean, I don't know what other word, but hype or perception. Not a lot of people are putting the same amount of energy into talking about it or pushing the ideas forward. Maybe, yeah. Whereas we're all sitting here 2 years later kind of still talking about the things that we're interested in. Do you think it'll just like come back to life in a little bit? Do you think it was just too difficult for people to understand? Do you think, why do you think it's been a quiet week? It was really only a week of like everyone talking about it, and now we're not anymore.
Yeah, well, we live in an echo chamber here on Twitter, right? I think after a while, the same people kind of just want to move on. I know I talk to a lot of Bitcoin maxis, obviously, so I'm kind of more in their spaces, and they don't really care about it too much anymore. But yeah, everything that comes out initially is super overhyped, and people rush to get in, and then there's kind of a lull. We're in a bear market, in my opinion, right now. So there's not a lot of people, but I don't know. It could set a precedent for the next bull run. I think we're gonna see a lot of hype around it, and I still think people are value it, right? These things are still selling for 4 Bitcoin on scarce.city. So clearly, some people do still value these things and are still kind of paying attention to it.
And ordinal theory is fucking badass. Like, if anybody is a math nerd or a code nerd, that in itself, like, Corey's fucking goat. So I don't know, but like, not 99% of the people aren't going to be like, yeah, Brooke and D, like, ordinal theory is so cool. They're going to be asleep in half a second. So
yep.
Oh, I just wanted to say, like, I'm not surprised that the hype died down, at least from the NFT side. Like, NFT peeps have the attention span of 72 hours. And even for me, like, I haven't inscribed anything. I sat in all these spaces and I'm like, okay, I'm waiting till the new easy solution comes out, because a lot of people don't have the time or don't want to go through like that whole process. So they're waiting for easier tools. And I think, like you said, that hype will come back. But I'm not surprised by the NFT peeps.
Yeah.
They have a short attention span.
Exactly. It'll come back. The tools aren't available yet, like you were saying. And, those marketplaces are still being built. And, there's still, the marketplaces that exist right now still come with a lot of trust because you're using their basically hot wallet web app or web wallet rather than, like a self-custody app that just has integrated ordinals to be able to send them a lot easier. So I think that'll come in time, and it'll be a lot more trustless. And obviously people will kind of value the file on chain as opposed to pointing somewhere else. So that's just what I see as the ideal is. But other people might have a different opinion.
Hector, I know you have your hand up. I just wanted to say, like, in the service side of things, like, as soon as this all happened, I had tons of meetings with people that are like, we want to hire your devs to spin up a marketplace and whatever, and talking about short attention span. When I told them it wasn't going to be like an overnight build, they were out. And I'm like, well, you look at the other things that came out in a couple of days, they're not robust. It's just, like you said, it's just like slapping something together, and that's just not how I operate. So that attention span too is like, look, we're not going to spin something up for you because of hype. We're a legit group of developers, and we're going to do something right the first time, and it may take a few weeks. Well, that's not going to work.
Yeah, and obviously those lower numbers for ordinals is what people were kind of valuing in the beginning, and then now we're seeing like the higher numbers. Obviously a little less, people are willing to pay less sats per byte. So, I mean, obviously they're still going through, but they're going through at, 1 to 2 sat per byte rather than, 10, 20. And, you really have to be an actual artist that, has a following and is providing value to someone rather than just, trying to inscribe a bunch of pictures of faces again and try and go through that cycle again. Right. So, obviously I'm not advocating for buying or selling any of these things, but I understand the artist perspective, and if they want to sell some art, go for it.
Great points. Dal, go ahead, and then we'll get to Hector and Leo.
Yeah, I'll sound like a broken record because I asked that question 2 weeks ago, but are there any BTC people working on the standard for NFTs for Bitcoin?
I personally don't know any. I know that there's a lot of BSV fellas that are creating Ord wallets and stuff like that.
Wow, they jumped ship, huh?
They did jump ship. They saw all the money that people were making over here, and they said, "Oh shit, gotta come over here, right?" But like Ord wallet, the purple circle wallet guy, he's a Randy from BSV, but he's got about 30K followers. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Obviously, they don't advocate for selling a bunch of stuff to people and making a crap ton of money just by selling, random stuff. But, he's making money, so whatever, right? Who am I to tell him not to?
But you don't think that fundamentally there's an issue in just following a protocol definition what a I guess, what will become an NFT on Bitcoin, and not having a conversation from other protocols to say, hey, this is what we should think NFT should be, whether it's ERC 721 base or a completely different model. No, do you think there's an issue in not having that conversation?
What issue? What do you mean? I don't understand.
You guys are moving forward with building a marketplace infrastructure around the ordinals. It's a protocol, but it's not a standard. So that's why I keep asking the question. Like, you guys had NFTs. I just want to say you guys, BTC guys, had NFTs before anybody else, and it went nowhere. In my opinion, because you didn't have a standard, and you guys are doing the same thing all over again.
Well, it's not that we didn't have a standard. It's just that it was very hard to transfer those things, and they were, again, pointing to a server outside of Bitcoin, right? I mean, inscribing is a lot different than pointing, having a hash pointing to a server or whatever. So I think that's kind of what the huge value is here, and it's Bitcoin. You're just trading around Sats, so giving Sats from your wallet to another person's wallet and freezing at UTXO isn't really that hard if you know what you're doing. But obviously, making that standard or the barrier of entry a lot lower helps for sure. I don't think there's an issue with a standard. I mean, anyone can create their own ORD 2.0 and have a last in, last out, where they have a completely different ORD standard, right? I mean, it just depends on who's going to be adopting it, and if you get enough adoption, then that becomes the standard, right? And example, obviously there's a standard for BIP39, right? BIP39 words, but you can do any words you want for your 12 or 24 word seed. It's just we have a standard with specific words that we usually use, but you can do whatever you want, right? I don't know. Standards are cool, but make your own standard, see if people adopt it, right? Just let the free market decide.
Great points. Great points. I think Leo was up, and then I have a question for you, Dee. Go ahead, Leo.
Two things. The other day that thing got me. I ended up, I think, minting somebody's stuff on Bitcoin. It wasn't even my NFT, so I used the rarity number instead of my actual NFT. So congratulations, whoever got it. And the second thing was Dee, wouldn't a standard be something you would want, especially for Bitcoin, as far as we all know is the mother of crypto, for instance? Wouldn't you want it to be a standard, like as far as for adoption and stuff like that later on, or for it to be more like more versatile? I guess I don't know.
Well, that's what's happening right now, right? I mean, there's other people that are creating other ORD wallet protocols, but no one's really adopting them. I mean, Litecoin also made their own ORD kind of iteration, and people can do that if they want, but I don't think they're really valuing them at the same standard as a Bitcoin inscription, right? And there's all power to them, but I don't think a standard needs to be set forcefully. I think a standard will be set naturally, through grassroots.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I want. That's the only reason I had my hand up. The standard is pretty much just rules. All right, that's the whole point of Bitcoin. Like, why are we adding rules to something? That's what it is now. It's not. It's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, everyone can do what they want.
You have to think about the design, though. Like, people actually have to sit down and say, what do we think is going to be use case around this primitive? If you don't have the conversation, eventually 2 years from now, you're going to realize that, it doesn't work for this use case. And so what do you do?
I don't know what you mean, man. I'm trying to just gather what your argument is.
So the rise of Ethereum was not really based on Ethereum. It was based on ERC20. Someone not affiliated with Ethereum Foundation or Consensus, a random developer, say, here's a standard that I think would make sense for tokens on Ethereum. Out of that, you have the whole ICO era, huge amount of adoption. Fast forward 2 years later, you have ERC 721. Again, a random developer comes around and says, hey, here's a standard that I think makes sense for non-fungible. And now you have OpenSea and this explosion, right? So in my opinion, right, that's just my opinion, the fact that you don't actually have those conversations to say, hey, we have this great thing that's happening, it's ordinal, it's exciting, let's have conversation on how to make it more scaling, to scale it more adoption, then it's probably going to die in a few months from now.
But you just said, here's some random coder guy that proposed a standard, and Casey is a random coder guy that proposed a standard, right? We are having these conversations, and Casey is working on this day in and day out, and there's massive pull requests. Like, just check
Yeah, but
out
that's a
the
protocol.
GitHub, man.
That's not a standard. That's a protocol. He basically made something work, but he didn't say, "Hey, I have an idea for NFTs in general."
No,
He's saying right now for PFPs,
he made a
not for
standard.
business documents,
He
not
made
for
his standard.
real estate assets.
Sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Go for it.
I was just saying he created a SAT index standard where he labeled the SATs or serialized SATs in the way that he thought was the best way, proposed it, and people are implementing it right now. So I just don't, I don't know. We can move on from this, but I mean, I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on it. It's just like, I don't think the argument is founded because I think a random dev did propose a standard for serializing SATs, and this is what Casey's implementation is. You can create your own implementation, but it's just files on Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, I think I'll chime in and maybe with a split view. I'm kind of split on this. I mean, I do agree with Dow in a way that like a standard, you know, should be needed. But then again, that's not to say that that's going to be the end all be all. And I think maybe setting a standard kind of limits what is actually being developed, because there's probably better things than an ERC20 that can be developed. And then, you know, as far as it being like gradually adopted, like, aren't we seeing that with ordinals? I think you said that, you know, it's happening on Litecoin now. I heard rumblings about Dogecoin. So isn't it like naturally forming its own standard?
Yeah, I would say yes. But, you know, other people might have a different story. But I still think grassroots, you know, build it from the ground up. Don't force anyone into specific rules. If someone proposes some rules, you follow those rules and adopt those rules. That's how a standard gets, you know, adopted.
Yeah, because and just like one example that I'm thinking about, do we have any Solana people here? No. I might need somebody to clarify me on this. This is just from off the top of my head. Didn't like Metaplex develop some type of NFT standard that does have royalties embedded in it or something like that? I could be wrong. Oh, Active's coming up to clarify. Thank God you guys are here. But that's my point. Like, let's say what I just said is true, which I think it might be, then that's better than our current standard. And now everybody's stuck with this, oh, we got to use, you know, the old standard that doesn't have everything that we need. Yeah. Active, you want to clarify that for me?
Hey, yeah, sorry. I was stuck in the matrix between when you let me up and now speaking. But yeah, so it's I think you were kind of giving kudos to Metaplex, which is definitely the opposite of my sentiment about Metaplex.
Yeah, didn't they create a new standard?
They did.
On Solana? And with royalties,
it's all about enforcing royalties, right? So it's just completely against the ethos of Web3. It creates all these issues with your wallet. If you mint on Magic Eden with this new standard, you can't transfer it out of your wallet. It's you know, it
complicates things because it's not the normal standard.
Well, it's not the normal standard, but it also completely removes ownership, you know, immutability, all that stuff. So it's very, it's much more commercialized. You know what I mean? It's in your wallet. You can't transfer it around. It's just very weird, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about royalties if we want to go on that subject, but I think they're just going to trend to zero, but that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, let's, I would definitely be down to talk about royalties. What was it that happened this week? Oh yeah, OpenSea said Tammy, I'll let you chime in. Sorry, I'm brain dead at this point.
Can I just say really quick that Metaplex is enforcing this on the protocol or the protocol level. So it feels like people will be forced into using it.
Right. And if you're forcing someone into something, then they're most likely going to move away from that, right? People want the freedom to do what they want, and forcing people to say you must pay this 5% royalty to the inscriptor or the minter or whatever is, in my opinion, a little silly, and just kind of forces your community, quote unquote, to leave and go somewhere else.
I agree.
Hey, Jess. I am so sorry. I was brushing my teeth and I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, no worries. I called it out of the blue. Sorry.
Oh, what was it that you were asking? I couldn't really hear.
We were going to talk about royalties, but then I realized that we had hands up. So I think we'll go to the hands first, and then we'll talk about royalties.
Sure. Sorry about that.
No worries. Go ahead, Hector, and then Death.
Just this is an old point, but I was curious as to how someone got 100 million users on Coinbase. I just checked. Coinbase reported 8.4 monthly transacting users. But
Nico, where'd you get that from?
No, that was Matt. Matt's not here, so you can go.
Besides the point. So and also going into Ordinals, MetaMask has now support for Ordinals, so you can send them to your MetaMask. And I think as far as the standard, that I don't understand DAO's point. Like I get DAO's point as the fact like you want to be thoughtful in how you create something so that you can use it for multiple purposes in the future and it works well with the system itself. But the point of anything, right, of all this stuff is to do this stuff permissionlessly, like without anyone's input, and you just throw it out to the world and someone says yes it's good or no it's bad. And in this case, people are liking the ordinals, so therefore they're continuing to do stuff with it. I'm sure there are other proposals people have made or other things people have done that people don't like, and it just broke after 5 people went into it. So I don't understand why the need for it. And it could become a standard in the future where ordinals is now a thing, and it's becoming that way because MetaMask has created support for it. All these Dee mentioned, a lot of BSV guys are the ones actually building all the shit that people are using in BTC. So these guys are very, very, very understood as to how to deal with protocols that are not, quote unquote, a standard today. But I don't think that that should exist. I understand that you're in Ethereum land, and in Ethereum land you want things ordered, and you want a central figure to tell you what to do, and then you want to ride your bus to work and back home. So I get it.
All right, shots fired. I gotta let them respond. Let's not
see. I knew this was coming. This is why I mentioned this was not a developer from Ethereum Foundation or Consensus. I made sure for both standards to say this was a random developer who looked at the EIP process, wrote a text, and say, here are the methods that I think would make sense for a standard for fungible token, for non-fungible token. After that, a bunch of other developers looked at it, give some comments, get some feedback, some update. This is happening in the organic way if you want, right? But the point was that there was a review process. People actually put some thinking about it, about maybe, let's say, for trade, be able to move a coin from one to another. Should we have 3 parameters or 2 parameters? Are we anticipating there will be like bots that will trade on behalf of a user? You have to think forward about all the different use case and limitation. So all I'm saying, the only question I keep asking is if there's a conversation. I didn't say that you guys should have a standard now. I'm just saying, is there a conversation? And every time I keep asking that question, the answer is no. So as far as I'm concerned, until you have a conversation, it's a nothing burger.
Yeah, like I said, dude.
All the validators, though, nodes have to agree on this new standard. Wouldn't it have to be a system-wide thing or no?
No one has to agree on this standard unless it's like a BIP or something. But
all right, so we got half the room that likes standards, half the room doesn't like standards. Let's move it on. I do see Matt is back, so I know, Hector, you had some numbers, but while he comes up, Death, go ahead.
Hey, I think a minimum standard is nice to have, and not from a developer standpoint, but yes, from a developer standpoint, but not from the actual person creating the object, from those who may build applications that will show the object or utilize the object in the future. Because, the problem is everybody has a different kind of metadata standard, right? It's very hard to build an application that can pull source data from the blockchain and in a sense, like, show all of the images or display all of the information. But if there's at least an agreed upon minimum, then you have like a floor, and then you can just kind of raise it from there, at least my own perspective. And, the royalties thing, I don't know necessarily what's going on with the application that was mentioned before, but I think the reason they're doing that is because on most chains that have a virtual machine sitting on top of it, royalties are not enforceable at the layer of the transactional layer of the blockchain, which is technically, right, like your layer 0, your first layer of every blockchain. And so I think that's maybe their methodology is trying to enforce the
the user, whoever the artist is, to get the royalty, because people can kind of get around that. If I send you the NFT and then you send me whatever the fee is or the charge I'm trying to charge you for the NFT, without having to do it through a transaction through a marketplace.
That's a great point. Great point. But yeah, I do see Matt's back over here. I know, Hector, you were waiting and you rambled off some numbers. Did you want to maybe go back to that?
Yeah, that's exactly why I came back. I don't like misinformation being spread.
Wow, you had like a ringer in your on your phone. Said, "Here I call. Here I go."
Mm-hmm.
Hey, your misinformation meter was going off.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the misinformation?
No, I think. No, it was something Hector had said. Hector, you there or no? All right.
Yeah, I'm here.
What you had mentioned something about? What was it that you were talking about these Coinbase numbers? There's not 100 million users. Is that what you said?
Yeah, someone said there's 100 million Coinbase users, and I was just curious as to if that was true. And then so I looked it up, and then Coinbase reported that there's 8.4 or something like that million monthly transacting users.
Mm-hmm. Monthly transacting users. That's a lot.
Yeah, per month. So that means it's roughly about 10 to 15 million users probably on the platform.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Banks have those many users as well.
Monthly transacting users. Monthly transacting users.
It's just
yes. Are you trying to make a point? What's your point?
Yeah, that means there's some people that don't transact every month, Hector.
Thank you.
Like, yo, I don't understand why you guys don't bring up like I've got Bitcoin next to bring up like the Oracle problem.
This shit's so easy.
Like, I swear to God, bro.
I feel like you guys don't understand these actual numbers.
Hector,
That's the weird part.
Hector, let me preface this by saying this. I do this. I don't just say stuff on the internet. Like I do this. Like for real. Like I have been using Coinbase for years, and I have stock in Coinbase. And every earnings report I look at and I read. So I'm telling you, like the stuff you're saying, you're saying rhetoric and opinions. I'm saying facts. If I agree with
Matt,
you,
I'm sorry, but you don't know what you are speaking. I literally live.
Hey,
I live in the mobile.
We need a
space
whiteboard, you guys. We need a whiteboard.
You can't. You can't tell me what monthly transacting users are when you don't know the numbers. Like,
but that's not what anybody said.
Tell me what they are. Hold on, Nico. Hold on, Nico.
That's the thing.
Hold on, Nico. Tell me what are the monthly transacting users. Go ahead.
It's a user who has made one transaction in Coinbase for the month.
Mm-hmm. How much
does
Coinbase have?
Coinbase have what?
How much monthly transacting users Coinbase has?
8.4 million.
Monthly, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't multiply that by 12, my guy.
Okay, so what are you saying? Well, is that negative? Is that positive? I don't understand.
No, wait, why would you divide that by 12? First of all, hold on, you would multiply that by 12, my man. Like, wait, you don't do anything with that. But why would you divide that by 12?
Like, you don't multiply by.
All right, guys, you got to calm this down.
No, we calm. I'm calm. Nico, relax. I got
listen.
You guys make your last point,
Hector,
and then
is this Hector? Is that a negative or a positive thing that Coinbase has 8 or 10 million transacting users? Go ahead.
Okay, I feel like one of you forgot math and then one forgot the point. The initial point was the argument was 100 million or 110 million, and I said that doesn't seem to be the case because the numbers being reported are not that, and then you guys are telling me that 8 million is a positive number. Of course,
I just walked in here.
Okay,
I don't know what that.
8 million is a positive number. No one's arguing that.
Okay,
what we're arguing is it 100 million? That's not the case.
Oh, okay, I wasn't arguing that.
Nico believes that somehow you need to multiply that number 8 by 12 for some weird reason. That doesn't make any sense. If you understood how...
No, I don't believe you should do anything with that number. That's the problem. I don't believe you should do anything.
Then how do you derive 100 million from 8 million?
Hold on a second. Because Matt threw that number, and I said there's 100 million users that are potentially going to be able to develop. Who threw that number? Because I used that number.
I don't know. It wasn't me.
I did.
Actually, I think it was you, Nico, but it was probably just a mistake.
No. If you look it up, if you put in Coinbase and 110 million users, there's plenty of articles that are pointing that direction. So to Hector's point, maybe they don't trade every month, right? Maybe in total amount of registered users is probably around that time, that number.
Yeah, there you go. That's your argument. Your argument is there's 110 million people who have downloaded the Coinbase app or registered with Coinbase.com. That's it. Doesn't mean there's 110 million people using this platform to make trades. There's roughly 8 to 10 million people, possibly give you 20 if that's the case, over the course of a year who have made trades on the Coinbase platform.
Okay, why are we focusing on this?
I don't know. They brought it up.
All right. Okay, well, I think we can move on from it.
Respect.
I agree.
I say we respect the hand.
what I did want to do, I did want to actually, Dee, I'd love to hear your thoughts about Coinbase chain or base chain, whatever it is. We were talking about that earlier, circled back now over Coinbase active users. But what are your thoughts about the chain announcement? You could keep it real.
Yeah, no, all good, all good. I mean, I don't think it's really anything big. There's plenty of L2 crypto chains that exist, so I don't know what they're doing differently. It's also kind of funny that they're an L2 but they call it base chain. I thought that was really funny. But,
holy shit, that's ironic. Yeah,
right,
that's a good one.
Right, it's like if you want to go on base chain, do it on base chain Bitcoin. But no, I was just curious because I was wondering why people like Coinbase a lot. What I was told is that it's an unprofitable company, but I could be wrong. I just wanted to ask Matt if they're a profitable company or not, and how they're making money, because I was told that they're at a negative.
They make money off of fees, and if you go to my last three tweets, you would see the growth from 2019 to 2022.
Matt can't read financial documents, by the way.
Oh yeah, okay. Anyways, I'm not even gonna argue with Hector no more. Anyways, you can see the growth from 2019 to 2022. Coinbase is popular because of the user interface. And when new users are coming on to Coinbase will actually give you crypto in that crypto that you're learning about. So let's say you're learning about, I don't know, Base or whatever. They'll give you Base. Like they say, if you take these 3 easy lessons, we'll give you Base.
That's being killed by the SEC.
Let me finish. They're registered. They're a publicly traded company, so they're heavily regulated,
but are they
which
profitable?
is something that you do want. As far as profits, let's talk about profits.
Yeah.
What if you're worried about if they go out of business or something? Is that why?
I was asking you about the term profits,
right?
Revenue, costs.
Is the company profitable, or are they operating at a loss?
They're operating at a loss right now.
Right. So my point is why would I buy Coinbase stock when I can just buy Bitcoin when I know it's going to go up?
I don't think they're operating at a loss, Matt. Maybe they're operating at a loss comparably to
this guy.
But no, their rounds of seed investing is why they have $5 billion cash, right? And that is a increase in supply of cash. So,
but they're still.
That's not how this works.
So you're asking
they
me why
have
would
losses,
you buy,
which means they have liabilities, which means they are negative.
Your question is, why would you buy a stock, because that's what Coinbase is, instead of Bitcoin?
Correct.
That's a personal choice, sir. Coinbase, you don't know where Coinbase is going to be in 20 years. I don't know where Coinbase is going to be in 20 years. You don't know what Bitcoin is going to be in 20 years.
That's
I don't
fair.
know what Bitcoin is going to be in 20 years.
Yep. No, sorry. I was just curious your opinion. If you don't want to really share your opinion, it's all good. But I was just curious why you buy Coinbase instead of Bitcoin.
I think Coinbase stock is a good investment. I think Bitcoin stock is a good investment. I'm invested in both.
So
yeah, I know Matt's a huge fan of Coinbase. I personally am not. That's where I started off as a newbie. I think and maybe I'm biased. I am a disclaimer. I am an affiliate partner with Binance US, but that was after me 2 years of using Binance US and liking it. So I just didn't like Coinbase. I didn't like the fees. They charge you too much.
Yeah,
and now, you could pay $30 a month to get free fees. What the fuck?
Right.
No.
Yeah, so Jesse,
on the flip side,
you can't make any money.
Another thing, I've had to verify twice, actually 3 times this past 2 fucking weeks to move money from fucking Coinbase. Put my license in 3 fucking times. I don't fucking get it.
Imagine
on the
living
flip
in New
side,
York and being stuck with Coinbase.
On the flip side, I started with Coinbase. I've never used Binance. When I started using Binance, I was like, "Oh, this is cool." But the KYC on Binance was I had to take a picture of myself. It was a lot. They was doing the most.
That's good. That's good.
They was doing the most. It was very easy on Coinbase. All they needed was my bank information, and then they verified through Chase that's who I was, and that's all it was. So that's they each have their pros and cons. Again, it depends on what you're comfortable with, what you want to use.
So,
but do not listen to the internet. Do not listen to the internet for advice. Use it yourself to decide if you like it or not.
Yeah, I'm not trying to shill anything or say don't do this or do that. Obviously, of course, do what you want. Just ask me the question of what do I think of Base? And then I said, well, this is what I think of Coinbase. And then if they're unprofitable right now, maybe they are profitable in the future, of course. Not going to deny that. I just don't think it's a good investment, and I think they're just trying to re-hype their platform and try and get back some of their users. But I think everyone's leaving because, again, if you're going to charge higher fees, people are going to leave. Just like the royalty thing. If you're going to charge a higher royalty, people are going to leave, and they're going to circumvent that, and they're going to go somewhere else. So I don't know. I think they're shooting themselves in the foot.
If Coinbase fails as a company, I will come on Twitter and say, "Hey, D, you were right. Hector, you were right."
All right, I'll see you in 5 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, all good. Yeah.
All right, great points. Let's get through some of the hands. Let's go to digital assets, who's new up here, and then we'll circle back to the rest of you guys. We are coming up to the 30-minute mark, so we're going to wrap it up in like 28 minutes. But what's up, digital?
Hey, thanks for letting me up here. Hey, I heard the conversation earlier about new same shit, new logo. So, the discussion about is there any new tech out there? I'm just curious if anybody knows anything or heard about the metal layer 0 blockchain from Metallicus and how proof of work assets can run on that blockchain with zero gas fees.
Wait. Digital. Are you trying to shill something?
No, I'm asking, does anybody know about it?
But what does that have to do with the current conversation? I haven't heard about it. No, I have not.
Metallica just make your shill, man. Just shill it and get this move on.
No, I'm asking, do you guys know anything about it?
Tell us about
I know
it,
it's going to zero. That's all you need to worry about.
I'm dead.
Guys, be nice. Be nice. Yeah. We have not heard about it. I've never heard about that. So go ahead.
Okay, I'm just asking. You guys were talking earlier about new products, new technology out there. Are you guys looking into new technology, or just if you are, do you know anything about it? If nobody knows anything about it, okay, the discussion's done. I'm asking you guys. You guys were talking about it. Is there new technology out there? There is. Do we know anything about it?
Ordinals are new tech.
I like the band Metallica, but I've never heard of their blockchain.
Okay, thank you.
I know the group.
So
I'll be the only normal person to answer in a normal way. I have not heard about it, but I will be looking into it. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Okay, thank you.
What's the rush with all this new tech stuff? Or is everyone like every 42 hours there needs to be a new thing in everything? Or
looking for the next gold? It's a gold rush.
I like that point.
Well, it's just like
why
we use the
something
internet,
works.
right?
Why are we always looking for the next thing? Like
they got coins to pump, baby.
That's
So
we got to make money for Coinbase.
Real quick, I just wanted to say.
That said that?
I want to say one last thing, and I'm going to defend Dow on this. Going back to D real quick, when we were talking about the discussion with Bitcoin, if you're okay with that, Jess?
Yeah, go ahead.
The way I see it, because I know where with Dow, I think everybody's misunderstanding where he's going. And for me, like in the auto industry, I look at it like, okay, you're great, but the first car when you first started, then you went to carburetor, then you went to for instance, just a regular engine, and now you're going to all electric, and that's the way I see it. Because even though the cars were great in the beginning, but how are you prepping for the future? Like, how are you fixing this protocol as far as Bitcoin and to make it even better, just scalable and stuff like that, to be able to for mass adoption, even though it is, but what was it last year when they threw all this Bitcoin, for instance, to where the hell was El Salvador, and people, what were they going to do with it? Because it's so expensive to use it or to buy things with it. You see what I'm saying? So I guess that's where Dow was coming, when he mentioned the Ethereum and stuff like that.
So
yeah, Bitcoin MFers want you to ride the horse and buggy for the end of time. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say.
Spider-Man meme.
So what platform are you speaking on right now? Right, we're talking through the internet. We're on Twitter, whatever. But we're still using TCP/IP, which is actually a technology that was designed in the 80s or 70s, I believe. And we're still using it, right? I mean, we're not upgrading the internet every single year. We're not doing that every 10 years. I mean, we've been on the same TCP/IP since pre-2000. So I don't see that argument. I don't think the horse and buggy argument is a fair argument. But everyone has a different opinion, so it's all good.
Can I please give a different one real quick? So,
sure.
China, people.
No more analogies, guys. We got to keep it short. I got to get through these hands.
This whole standard.
No more analogies, guys.
All right, Nico. Next time.
I do want to make sure that we get through some of the new speakers. We got a bunch of hands up. Super Spaces. Go ahead.
I appreciate that, Jess. Yep, sometimes it is crazy having to get to all of those hands, but you're doing a great job. I love it. I just wanted to pop in and see how you guys were doing today. I've loved the conversation thus far that I've been able to hear. I imagine, based on what I've heard, because it seems to have gone a little bit off topic, we're talking about different off-road access to fiat for cryptocurrency, like exchanges, correct?
Yeah, I think we were talking about, obviously, one of the biggest news, which is Base Chain, and just what everybody's thoughts are. We have a lot of Ethereum enthusiasts, Bitcoin enthusiasts. How do you feel about Base Chain, and will Super Spaces be supporting Base influencers?
That's a great question. So we're not necessarily chain biased by any means, and so whether that's Solana or Ethereum or Bitcoin, Cardano, whatever it is, Base Chain, any of that, we obviously are here to support all of you guys as Spaces hosts and speakers and listeners. And so we're just looking to provide data and analytics for those things, what's happening here on Twitter Spaces. But yeah, and in that regard, those people are still welcome to join the platform, become a host on the platform, become a co-host on the platform, get analytics for their spaces. But we're not necessarily biased by any means. So yeah, we'll support them for sure. I'm not too well-versed on Base Chain and what it's about, so I'll probably sit back and just listen and try to learn something from all of you then.
Great. I do have one more question, because I know Super Spaces, you guys have like categories by blockchain, and with the rise of NFTs or inscriptions on Bitcoin, will you have like a Bitcoin NFT influencer category?
Yeah, so when you first sign into your dashboard, there will be a drop-down menu that gives you a whole series of different categories. For example, I know some of the ones we currently have are like Women in Web3, NFTs and gaming, or staking, or whatever it might be, NFT news, whatever your interests might be. We can definitely add more to that as well as time goes on, and as the community says, hey, we'd like to have this one added. And that's basically just going to kind of create some smaller subgroups that you can then filter through and find other people that have common interests as you, other hosts and co-hosts and things. So yeah, we definitely are completely open to adding stuff like that.
Well, we love Super Spaces. Thanks for coming by, and yeah, feel free to hang out. Go ahead, Dow.
Yeah, I think what Dee said is, if you know about TCP/IP, you've probably heard about IPv6. You can go to Wikipedia and look at different proposals that are happening. Even though it looks like it's static and it's the same thing, it actually upgrades over time. The greater context of why I was asking that question is I don't necessarily care too much about Bitcoin, but if you look at every other chain, whether it's Polkadot, Polygon, what have you, they more or less all accepted ERC 721. And that kind of created a kind of natural industry standard, and where it matters because you actually have people in Web2 in the corporate world, they're also looking at NFTs, right, for intellectual properties, identity, things like that. So Microsoft, Oracle, what have you, they're actually looking to integrate NFTs into the database and the backend systems. So obviously for now, they're looking at what looks to be the winning standard, which is ERC 721. But it is interesting to hear from Bitcoiners what they think about that conversation, because it is happening. Is it that Bitcoiners think that ERC 721 is a standard that's good enough, or do they think they want to go in a completely different direction? Because that might actually have a say into what we call NFT in the future. For now, all the blockchain that have some success have used the same standard. And obviously, there's also the ERC 1155, but that's the ERC 721 is basically the default primitive, and that matters for the industry, whether you're Web3 or Web2, people are building around this ecosystem. So the fact that people are not having this conversation, in my opinion, is a little bit naive.
Yeah, and I'm always here for this discussion. We're talking about it a little bit right now. Obviously, I'm not a dev, so I can't comment too much on what I'd want to improve. But I obviously don't believe that ERC21 tokens belong anywhere near Bitcoin. It's a totally different chain. And it's completely different implementation. So I still believe in that grassroots where there will be devs that will be working on this and adding, more features and whatnot. but it's a completely different standard than ERC-21, and we're definitely not. I don't believe that any Bitcoiner is talking about implementing ERC-21 on Bitcoin whatsoever. I don't even know how that would work, and I don't believe it's a standard that Bitcoin would agree with, or you can say something's a standard, but if people stop adopting it and moving over somewhere else, then that becomes the new standard, right? So it's an interesting conversation, and Dow, obviously your criticisms are well taken.
Right, great points. All right, Daniel, and then Death, if you wanted to chime in after, I saw you put your hand down.
No, I just wanted to say, coming back on the fees on Coinbase versus Binance.
Oh,
yeah,
God. Here we go. Go ahead, Mr. Coinbase Maxi.
I think it comes down to user error, right? So I'm gonna blame all of you guys for not knowing how to use the fucking tool.
Oh, so now it's our fault.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's our fault. Okay.
Let me tell you why. So on Coinbase, there's two types of trading, right? There's like standard or spot, and there's the advanced trading, right? They call it advanced. So that was the Coinbase Pro, right? It moved into one house. And the fees for, I think just for posting your purchase on advanced trading is 0.4%. And I think if you allow the takers are 0.6%. So, I mean, if you can't afford 60 cents on $100 for fees, you can't, I mean, okay, that's your financial status, I suppose, right? Yes, Binance is cheaper, and
Not
I think
60
Binance,
cents for $100, bro. I just cashed out like $200 the other day, and it was like $8.
you don't know how to use it.
Listen,
you don't know how to use it.
Okay, but that's so. What you're saying is that Coinbase is scamming the noobs, and you have to be a pro trader to not get ripped off by Coinbase.
No, so when you go to Binance, doesn't cut the shit. Binance doesn't have this like front wallet where you spot things. It's always like fucking go ape shit on this trading platform, like, and that's the mistake that Coinbase is doing, right? They're trying to make it easier for people, so just buy it, buy the Bitcoin or buy whatever. But when you do it in the wallet, like in your like bank side of business, yes, you pay like $4, $5, $6, $7 per transaction. But you don't have to do that, right? That's very expensive per transaction. The trading is basically the other side where you look at the chart, you can do the margin, stop losses, and things like that. And I think, and that's where you have the 0.6%, 0.4% fees. But I mean, yeah, so Coinbase is retailing to normies that they just want to click buy and go with it. And yeah, they're slapped with this pretty high, $4, $5 per transaction. Fuck that, like even on Ethereum, I stopped doing that a while ago. So yeah, but I mean, no, it's not that there is the trading where you can go. So if you
Daniel, wrap it up. I know you like Coinbase.
Yeah,
What else?
sorry.
What else?
Hey, Daniel.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you know how to use Binance, you know how to use Coinbase trading, and the fees are super, super small.
What are your thoughts
There you
on the profitability part of the company? Just quickly before we move on. Like it's
I don't
unprofitable right now.
brands. I don't simp to brands. I don't care. Like I traded the coin stock in stock market, and that's it. I don't care. I like Coinbase, but if they're profitable and unprofitable, I don't give a damn.
Well, okay. I guess from a stock buying perspective, I usually look for companies that are profitable, but that's all right. Anyway, happy to move on.
Oh, I said I traded it, right? Like I bought it, I went to Target, I sold it.
Yeah,
That's it.
Trading's totally different. Yeah, I was just asking maybe your long-term perspective on the longevity of Coinbase as a company, but totally different topic.
Yeah,
all good.
So the stock, I see the stock as a this little thing that attached to Bitcoin. Really, whether you like it or not, Bitcoin goes up, Coinbase is gonna be doing great.
Yeah, but then Bitcoin goes down and Coinbase does way worse too, right? It's
Yeah,
a volatility.
no, it's fine. Yeah. No, yeah, there's a factor to it. Exactly. Yeah, it's extrapolated, and you have the sentiments, right? Like the stock market, it's a freaking dark woods. It's really it's brutal,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, you're right. It extrapolates one way or the other.
Yep.
Long term. Yeah, anyways, yeah, I don't want to go to it.
Yeah, all good.
There's no time.
Yeah, I think in the future we'll see stocks. Like, you know how we say, oh, it's a Bitcoin company or it's a Bitcoin stock. I just think in the future everything will be a Bitcoin stock because everyone will be holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet. But that's totally different. So why don't we move on, Jeff?
For my bags, I hope you're right.
There you go.
All right, great stuff. Death, what's up? Go ahead.
I was just gonna reiterate what Dow had said about the TCP, right? Although the TCP itself has not been changed or completely in the sense of it being a new protocol, all of the security metrics around the way that the information gets transferred has upgraded, and so it's like, yeah, that I just wanted to kind of strengthen what Dow was saying about
great
all of the together. And one that I think of that'll be playing a big role also in the Internet of Value in the future is called the ILP. It's the Internet Interledger Protocol, which is something the W3C, which is the World Wide Web Consortium, adopted in 2015.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I'm not trying to draw a one-to-one comparison with TCP with Bitcoin. It's just obviously we're not about move fast, break things. It's just about like moving slow. And Taproot was activated just a year ago, and that helped out Ordinals, right? So, and that was only a year ago that soft fork was upgraded. So, Bitcoin does get upgraded, and I think it's more like we want to upgrade things that are very useful and have like a very high use case for the users, I guess. Whether obviously Taproot's a little different, but opening Lightning channels, being a little bit more private, is kind of what Taproot was enabling. But yeah, Bitcoin gets upgraded all the time, just a lot slower.
I tell you, it's a great perspective you have.
Thank you.
Yeah, great points. Great points all around. Yeah, we didn't get to touch on a lot of topics. Obviously, base was the base of the conversation. But yeah, just quickly, some other things that I saw in the news. Audius is teaming up with TikTok in some way, which is weird. I don't use either or, but that's pretty cool to see. And then Spotify is testing token-enabled NFT playlist, that's pretty cool as well. What else did I miss? Polygon had another reorg this week. I know a lot of people thought the chain was down, but another reorg. What is the difference? Like, isn't the reorg just basically the same thing as the chain being down?
I don't understand why laying people off means the chain goes down. Why does laying people off mean the chain goes down? I don't.
Is that what they meant
hold on. Polygon scan went down. The chain didn't go down. And the
no, but there was a yeah, correct. But then what did happen during that time, and I put up a tweet on the top, there was a reorg. So that's why I'm trying to get a better understanding of what these reorg means. This isn't the first time this happened. So this is from the Uniswap founder. Polygon needs to make moves publicly to solve its reorg problem. 157 block reorg yesterday and 120 in December is bad and can break bridges, etc.
I took reorg as reorganizing, like the organization, the just tying in with the layoffs that they did.
No,
but maybe it's
is actual the blockchain. It does something with reorganize the blocks. Death, do you know how that works?
Well, what it sounds like is they found a bug in their code, and without saying where the bug exactly is, they kind of are saying we found a bug. That's what it sounded like to me.
I mean, I guess it's better to find it, and fix it than have your users suffer from some issues.
Yeah, definitely not the reorg of the organization. That's
you know what it could possibly. With the firing of employees, it could have possibly been an internal dispute where somebody had built in a back door that somebody else realized was there. I mean, you never know, right?
They're centralized. I don't think they have public validators. And this guy is saying, I'm reading it, and it says, or a social consensus-based hard fork to slash the validator. So there's a validator that's not synced with everybody else.
Yeah, so this happened when they were saying there was like rumors that it was down. Then they said it was the Polygon scan, but then during this time period, it does look like something did happen behind the scenes. But I do see Thales, you had your hand up. Did you want to chime in on this topic?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. So basically, reorg means whatever transactions you did, it will be cancelled, and the history of the transaction will go back for whatever 150 blocks. So it means whatever blocks they mined or validated, those were cancelled. Whatever transactions you did, those has never happened. They got cancelled. So this is really bad in blockchains whenever this happens.
Can I tell the IRS that though? Can I tell that to the IRS?
Yes, see, and this is why this is a huge issue. That's a problem. That's what Dee was saying before, right? You move slow not to break things. You move too fast, you break things. This is finance. There's no going back.
Right, and that's why a lot of people kind of were not confused, but maybe surprised by Taproot. Right, it was a quote unquote speedy trial. It was still vetted a lot, but it was a speedy trial, and nothing really came of it until a year after, and they realized, oh, there's a whole new scripting language that we could use and implement things, and so obviously things have consequences, and trying to go back is the tricky part, right? So slow, methodical, make sure it makes sense is definitely important sometimes.
I still want to know, and this could be a long, drawn-out argument between me and Dee, a continuation of our Twitter argument yesterday about, he said my Bitcoin name, BNS, is not really on Bitcoin. So
it's on Stacks, isn't it? That's a side chain. That's like Polygon, but that's like the Polygon of Bitcoin is what Stacks is.
It does kind of seem that way now.
Yeah, they pretend to be part of Ethereum, but they're not. And that's the same thing Stacks is. They pretend to be part of Bitcoin and they're not.
But when
Is it like BSB?
When I look at the transactions, though, they're settled on Bitcoin, and I think you're right. Like, it's the same thing with Polygon Ethereum relationship, right? You can kind of have that false notion that it's actually on that blockchain. I don't know. I'm not a dev, so you guys will have to help me out. But if they're making the transaction on Stacks, I think essentially, like Dee said, selling the Stacks, and then your transaction is confirmed on Bitcoin. Is it just because you're going around in a circle to get to where you need to be versus just going straight to Bitcoin?
No,
because the transactions are confirmed, in the meme pool.
No, I think it's a separate blockchain that has, like, in its marketing material, it has some Bitcoin in it, but it's a separate blockchain. I don't think you would see Stacks transactions on the Bitcoin meme pool. Maybe once every time and then there comes some big in, big out happens, but it's basically a separate blockchain. It's like a separate coin.
That I know that, but when you're doing specifically in this example, the Bitcoin naming service, I posted something and Dee commented on it yesterday, so that's how it came up. But basically, you do the transaction, the Stacks is sold for Bitcoin in the background, whatever, and then it's settled on Bitcoin. So it is a Bitcoin transaction, but
I think it's
like a Polygon mechanism.
I think this is a big Bitcoin, so it's some kind of Stacks Bitcoin that lives on the Stacks blockchain. It's like the dollar, but it's Tether. So it's not really dollars, but it's like somebody's promising to give you the Bitcoin back someday. So it's like it's a new token or a separate blockchain that is pegged somehow.
Yeah.
It
has their own coin, right? That's kind of my big issue. It's like, you don't need a coin, you just want some more money, so you want to sell your coin for more money, right? And that's kind of what it comes down to, in my opinion. I could be totally wrong. Someone has their opinion, all good. I just don't think you need a token to have a side chain or an L2 for Bitcoin.
I think those are great points. Sorry, guys, but I do have to wrap it up. I do have a hard cut. I do want to thank all the speakers for coming, and great conversation. Everybody contributes something great. But before we wrap it up, I do want to hand it over to my co-host, Dow. Anything you got coming up this week? What you're looking forward to? Any spaces you got going?
Yeah, but great conversation. Love the previous guest. I don't have any crypto again. I lost them in a boating accident, but it's still good advice, if you're doing taxes and accounting. Next week, I'm not sure, but yeah, we'll have Farmers Market back. And I was actually browsing through the documentation for the BASE chain. It looks pretty exciting. I think there's some good things. For those who know, they're actually going to implement account abstraction. So that's going to be really cool for wallets. And then you think about the on-ramps. So I think we're not making enough of a big deal. This is actually like a really massive development for crypto.
I think that's a great point. I know we didn't get to touch on it, but I did feel like half of the sentiment in the ETH community was split. Like some people are saying, hey, why are you joining forces with this centralized entity? And then on the other side, some people are like, this is great. But yeah, and Tammy, what about you? Anything you got going on this weekend or next week? What you got planned?
Just hanging with the normies this weekend, which is always fun. So try and do more of that now for sure to take a break. But I did want to say great space today. The information was awesome. So if anybody joined late, please go back and listen for the tax news, because as Jess says, we all probably are procrastinating on that. So there was some good information in there. And Dow's space this week, the farmers market was really, really good and interesting. So if you have a chance, please go back and take a listen to that. I know one thing that I did kind of want to keep track of. I know I put it in the notes for today, but I'm sure you all know or have heard that SBF was brought up on new charges, conspiracy to make unlawful political contributions and defraud the Federal Elections Commission. So I'm kind of curious to watch that, because I think there was a 3-day span in between where the Democratic Party said they were going to give back 2.2% of the contributions that were made, which I laughed, because out of, I believe it was $43 million, that equated to between like $800,000 and $1 million that they were giving back. So given the new charges, and I'm not being political because I've heard that, the Republican Party received funds too, but it's funny to me because I'm kind of curious now that he's been brought up on these charges, maybe if they'll let loose of that money a little bit more than 2.2%.
2.2%.
2.2.
That is crazy.
Yeah, 2.2. It's 800. I think what I read yesterday when they broke it down, it's $1 million or less total that they're giving back. So I have the article on my that I went ahead and retweeted, or tweeted out. But anyway, yeah, I'll find. I hope to find out more information on that. But great space, Jess, as always, and we look forward to everybody that shows up for us weekly. You guys are great. Couldn't do it without all of you and all of your support. And thank you so much to all the speakers that came up today too. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Tammy. Yeah, as usual, we never get through all our topics because you guys always have a lot to say, which is great. I enjoy everybody contributing because, as you can see, I don't know everything. So we didn't know about reorgs, and Thales came up and explained it to us. So I definitely appreciate all the community input from everybody. And yeah, and we'll be back next week. What do I have going on this weekend? I have no clue. I've had a long week, but yeah, we'll definitely be back next Friday. Make sure to go back and hear the recording if you want to hear about Coin Ledger and haven't done your taxes. And shout out to my partners at Binance US. No trading fees on ETH and BTC. Yeah, cover your ears, Daniel. Make sure to check out my pinned tweet. And thank you, everybody.